This is the Banner Finance how-to video. Before we create, we need to determine whether the accounting method used on the document will be document level accounting, which is the default, or if we want commodity level accounting. This requires a little bit of explanation. This explanation also will cover requisitions, purchase orders, as well as invoices. The two types of accounting. Document level accounting is the default method assigned to these documents. This method allows all commodities to be charged to one or more focal combinations on the entire document. So you could have one commodity or 101 commodities, and you could charge it all to one focal or distribute the entire document to 2, 3, or 4 or more focal combinations. The other option is to use commodity level accounting, and what this entails is it allows each commodity to be charged to its own focal or focals. So commodity 1 could use one focal, commodity 2 could use 2 or 3 focals, or it could use one different focal, and commodity 3, 4, and 5, each one would have its own focal combinations possible. There's one very important thing to be aware of if you want to use commodity level accounting on a requisition, a purchase order, or an invoice. The method must be chosen on the document header at the very beginning when you are creating the document. If not, it will default to document level accounting. You cannot switch to commodity level accounting after document level accounting has been assigned to the document. The only way to do that is to delete the document that has been assigned document level accounting and recreate the document using commodity level accounting. We will point this out on the document headers so you see where it can be identified. FPAREQN is the form that we use to create requisitions, and all it asks for on the initial page is a requisition number. And as you can see by the message at the bottom of the form, you can use the word next or leave it blank and the system will assign a number, or you can enter a document number on your own. There's an icon up here that allows you to copy a previous requisition to a new requisition. That way, if you're ordering something over and over again, it helps you save on the data entry. Alright, we'll do a next block and let the system assign the next number. On the top of the header, you'll see that there is a box over to the right where document level accounting is checked. This is the default, and all accounting will be based on the document total, regardless of how many commodities and regardless of how many focal combinations you have. The only thing you really need to do is to put an expected or desired delivery date on the system. If you put T for today, it'll fill in today's date. Then you do the next block. If you're assigned to a single organization on FOMPROF, that will populate. Otherwise, you need to put in an organization code. Ship to address is required, and we'll go ahead and we'll assign a ship to address. Each institution has their own ship to addresses that are defined. You can either do a next block to get to the next set of information, or you can use the tabs. On a requisition, a vendor is optional. You can leave it blank and let the purchasing department determine what vendor you're going to use for the requisition. If you enter a vendor number here, this is only a suggested or preferred vendor. It can be changed when the requisition is converted to become a purchase order. At this point, we're just going to leave it blank and let the purchasing department add the vendor later. We then go to the Commodity Accounting tab. Now, as a reminder, document level accounting at the top of the page is checked, which means we would enter all of our commodities and then do a next block and enter all of our fopals. While there are only 4 lines for commodities, as you continue to do next record, you can add any number of commodities to this requisition. In the same fashion, although there are only 3 focal lines on the bottom block, you can add as many focal combinations as you need just by going to next record. So, as an example, again, we're not using commodity codes, so we'll just type in a description. The unit of measure should be the unit of measure that you anticipate being billed, because there is a matching process that can be activated in Banner, and you should be using the same unit of measure. One of the most popular or the most useful, of course, is each. You put in the quantity, the unit price, and the system will automatically extend that. If you are given a discount, you can type the amount of that in. You can also do an additional amount, and we should be ready to go. And that's the first commodity. Now we'll go to the second commodity. You'll see that the document total for commodities is being updated as we go along. MI is a unit of measurement for miles, so I'm just going to put in 102, 50 cents a mile. Notice it extends the price out, and I tab through, and now we're done with the 2 commodities on this one document. Do a next block to go to the focal. We'll see that the document commodity total has changed to $1,046. The org and the program are defaulted in, as well as the fiscal year on the focal. The reason is the date tells us what fiscal year we're in, and from the header page there was an organization code. And at the LCTCS we have defaulted program codes from most of the organization codes. So at this point all I need to do is come in and enter the fund, the account, and what portion of the charge should be against that particular focal. In this situation, we're going to charge the fee for the conference to one account. So we just enter in a portion of the total document to this focal, and I can do a next record and come in and enter the different information for the other portion. Now I'm going to generate an error just to show you what happens. Now what we're doing is we're taking 2 different commodities and we're charging them to 2 different focal combinations. So we're done, and we're on the document level accounting. I do a next block, and we'll see that the system automatically computed the difference. It's telling us that the amounts are the same. So if I go back to the commodity and we go to the second focal, it says that the document accounting total is the same. we go ahead and complete the document. And it's telling us the requisition does not have a vendor or a recommended vendor. Do we want to complete the requisition? And so we're just going to say yes. And the requisition R502 has been completed and forwarded to the approval process. Now, as you saw, this was a document level requisition. 2 commodities, 2 fopals. But there may be occasions where you want to have really unique information as far as fopals go, where you may want to have totally different group of fopals for each commodity. In that case, we would want to do commodity level accounting. In our previous example, we used document level accounting and we had 2 commodities and 2 fopals, but we split the amount up based on the commodity. But document level is different. We're going to do a commodity level accounting this time. Be very careful to remember the first thing you want to do is uncheck document level accounting so that it will now become a commodity level accounting document. If you pass this point, you cannot come back and uncheck it. You must do it right at the beginning. So be very careful if you intend to do commodity level accounting. Uncheck the box, the first thing. Go ahead and assign today's date. We'll enter our organization code. We will choose a valid ship-to address. Most of the time they're going to be valid, but you may have different choices. The ship-to address can be defaulted from your FOMPROF record, from your user ID. We're not going to assign a vendor. We now come to the commodity accounting. Now you notice that everything looks pretty much the same on this tab, but we want to enter one commodity and then go down and create the fopals and then come back and do a second commodity. So we will go ahead, type in the and the commodity line total. Notice there's no commodity document total. It's just a line total. So now we do a next block, and you'll see that we have the commodity accounting total. Now we can split this one commodity across multiple fopals if we choose. In this case I'm not going to, but and notice that the line total is the same as the commodity total. And you can save here if you want to, and what that will do is update the commodity accounting total. But what you'll need to do in order to go in and enter a new commodity is do a previous block to go back to the commodity section of this form. And notice what happens when we do a next record. The system highlights the second commodity record, but the accounting information in the lower block goes away. That's because the fopal that was there applied to the first commodity, not the new one that we're about to enter. Then when we're ready, we do the next block to go down to the fopal for the second commodity. If you don't want to type in the total amount of the commodity, This will work in any situation. You can check this little box under the percent sign, and then in the field where it says USD, you can put 100%, you can put in any percentage, and what the system will do is compute what total of the commodity or the document, depending on whether it's a commodity level document or a document level document. And then when you tab, the system will compute what percentage of that base amount is in here. Now we're just doing these two commodity lines. Each has one focal. And when you're finished, you just again do next block. The system will take you to the complete function, and you go ahead and mark your document as complete. And it asks, do you want to complete the requisition? At the moment, however, I want to show you one additional feature. So I'm going to say no at this point in time. I'm going to enter some document text. Now this text can either be included on the requisition or it can be just internal text. We can go to Options up on the toolbar and select Document Text. When we do that, we are taken to the FOA POXT procurement text entry. Different document types use different text fields, but they all work pretty much the same. Now, you are able to create clauses, which are standard groups of text, if you want to include them in your document. In this situation, there are no standard clauses defined. We would go to the next block, and we can enter text and determine whether or not it needs to be printed on the document or if it's just internal. Please be sure manager approvals are granted. And we're going to come over here and say no, we don't want this printed. And we're going to call this text line number 1. We'll go ahead and save it. We can then exit this. Now this text is associated, you'll see, with the document itself. So we have document text. If you were to go back to the commodity line, and let's just say you wanted to have text on the commodity, what you're able to do is when you're on the commodity record, you can go to Options and put in commodity text in a similar fashion. You'll see it tells you it's a commodity text. We come down and do a next block. You see it's a commodity record, and the system would allow you then to come down and add text. For instance, you may have a commodity that has part numbers, may have colors or sizes that are needing to be included on the requisition, but there's not enough space on the commodity description. What you would do is come in and add the text, indicate that you want it printed on the requisition, and assign line numbers so the lines will be in the right sequence. Then you do the save, you exit, and what you'll see is the commodity text box checked on this. Alright, once your text is added, you would then finish your document, complete it to make sure it is. We're going to skip the vendor and make sure the document is completed and forwarded to the approval process. Thanks for watching.